Hi Vogue, my name is Rachel Zegler and today I'm going to walk you through my skincare routine and my go-to makeup look. Well, the first step is usually to use some makeup removing cleanser wipes. Just want to make sure that we are all clear on my skin. Lately I've been wearing a lot of makeup because I'm doing lots of press for my upcoming movie West Side Story. So next up is my cleanser, which I've been using since sophomore year of high school, which seems like eons ago. I have always had very easy skin to take care of. My skin is not very temperamental. I tend to use products that's for normal to oily because I have an oily T-zone, but otherwise I only get blemishes once in a while, but then I scar really easily. So I try to avoid those blemishes as much as I can. Time to wash this off. So next we're moving on to toner. I use this and I just put it on a pad like so. When you make movies, people come up and retouch your hair and makeup all day. So what starts out as very light skin makeup turns into 13 layers of concealer by the end of the day. And that really takes a toll on your skin. So you want to do as much as you can to soothe it and avoid any breakouts, avoid any spots or bumps, because I have very textured skin when I get bumps. So, you try to avoid that because bumps are harder to hide on camera. Next up is this mask that I have actually been using since middle school. Today, because my whole face isn't acting up, I'm just gonna put it on my forehead and my chin, which tend to be some problem areas for me at the moment. All right, imaginary watch says it's been 15 minutes, so now I'm going to wash this off. So next up is this LED mask. I use this one, I don't know if you can tell, but it is a bright pink color. So this mix is for breakouts and collagen. I've noticed a difference ever since I started using it, and maybe you will too. Next up is lips. This is a really important step for me because my lips get chapped very easily. And so I use this super balm that you can also use on your skin, but my skin's not thick enough for this thick material. So basically you have to warm it up in between your fingers before putting it on your lips. And then you just keep it on for the rest of your routine. I am a lip balm fiend. I have a lip balm in every pocket, every purse, every coat. I refuse to have chapped lips in public. I was, working as a wedding singer through all of high school, and I started a YouTube channel where I covered a bunch of songs from my bathroom and my childhood bedroom, and it started gaining a lot of attention, but I didn't really burst onto the scene until I received the role of Maria in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. It was a year-long audition process. There were 30,000 other people in the mix, and it was crazy stressful, and I somehow made it to the other end of that. One of the most important things on my mental health journey as well as my skincare journey has been making sure that I feel as comfortable as possible so that I can do my job to the best of my ability. Next up is my serum, which I use every morning. This is a vitamin C serum. Then I like to go in with moisturizer. Don't like to use too much, especially in the morning. I definitely use a little bit more at night. Next up is face oil, and I like to use this and just put it all over my skin. I think something that a lot of people don't know about my wellness journey is that a huge chunk of it has to do with my voice as well as how I'm feeling physically. When I was making West Side Story, I felt a lot of pressure to constantly be on my game. That mostly manifested vocally. And when you're very stressed out, it can affect your vocal cords. But I cut dairy out of my diet. I cut a lot of caffeine out because caffeine can dry up your vocal cords. But ever since I wrapped West Side Story, I am very happy to incorporate my cup of coffee in the morning now. So that's been a godsend. Next up is my eye cream. There's a huge obsession with appearance and beauty in Latin American countries. Even though we're like supernaturally beautiful, we wanted to look like Selena Quintanilla. So a lot of times we were focused on this beautiful, dark, beautiful hair and the big red lips. And that's something that I remember a lot from my childhood. I definitely wanted to look like Selena. I wanted to look like Shakira, who's from the same city as me in Colombia, the Barranquilla. As I've grown older, I've just been able to appreciate more of those beauty standards in Latin America. So next up is my sunscreen. I think it's something that a lot of people fail to incorporate into their beauty routines. This is tinted sunscreen. It's SPF 40, and I like to put it on my skin. I always wore sunscreen growing up. Even though my skin never burned, I was very aware of the damage that the sun could do because I was always scared straight by all of the commercials on TV. So I did always wear sunscreen. And now on to makeup. So first up is this tinted moisturizer that I use as a foundation. The more layers you use, the more pigmented it is, but I don't really use a lot of it. And I like to put it on my hand here. So you're gonna take a little bit on your brush and then you're just gonna go. I have had the hardest time trying to find colors that matched my skin. And I started really to notice when I was doing photo shoots that the makeup artists would just mix so many different colors. We don't all come in a standard shade of anything. And that's a beautiful thing, but it's also very frustrating when you're trying to buy makeup. Next up, I would usually do concealer, but when I do an eye look so that I don't ruin the concealer prematurely, I like to go in with the eyes first. So I'm gonna do that right now with this cream eyeshadow. Not to flex, I have discoloration on my eyelids that kind of make them look like a darker brown. A lot of people are asking me when I'm not wearing makeup at all whether or not I'm wearing eyeshadow, and the answer is most obviously no. But therefore, like, colors like this look pretty good. I like to go in with concealer under my eyes and in any problem areas that I'm having on my face. I tend to use my foundation brush to also apply my concealer because it tends to disperse it more evenly, and I don't like when it's a very obvious bright highlight underneath my eye, so using this brush is actually a lot more helpful. Now I'm gonna go in with some bronzer. This is Giorgio Armani. It's my favorite bronzer because it's not too harsh and it's very easy to just layer if you want more. I tend to put it right where my natural shadow from my cheekbone is and just try to accentuate that. I put a little bit on my nose, not too much, and then a little bit on my jaw. And then if I'm feeling like I'm having a 5-head day, I go in on my forehead and just try to put a little bit of shadow there. I did my own makeup for every show I ever did up until when I did Shrek the Musical. I had to have that green put on me because the quick change into my ogre self happened mid-show. It was the worst, and my skin was tinted green for about 2 or 3 weeks after, and the day after we closed Shrek was my first rehearsal for Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, and I showed up looking like I had jaundice. So next up I'm gonna go in with blush. This is my favorite blush from Chanel. I like it because it's a more natural color. I know a lot of people like bright pinks or reds, but I'm very much of the idea that it should complement your natural skin tone. And I just like to put it on my cheekbone so it kind of serves as a highlight as well, and then it makes my face seem a little bit more narrow. Probably the thing I get complimented the most on is my eyebrows. They're very thick. I've kept them thick my whole life. I like them thick. Something that helps me to accentuate that thickness is this Chanel brow pencil. And I just like to go in and not fill in the whole thing. I just like to go in and get a good line in the front. I get them threaded every now and then, but I like to let them grow so that I don't lose the thickness. And when I go to get them threaded, I'm like, I just want them to be clean. Like, that's all. I just want them cleaned up a little bit. And my eyebrows have been very important to me my whole life. They've served me well. Then I just brush it through, and if I feel like anything is out of place, I go in with a Bare Minerals eyebrow gel. It just helps to keep everything locked down and adds a little bit more fullness if I so please. I'm a big fan of a nude lip, so I'm gonna go in with a liner. I do overline my lip a little bit on the top. I'm gonna also go in with a lipstick. It's been an incredibly wild couple of months. I feel like I haven't really sat down since September. I wrapped Shazam and then came home to New York and immediately went to the Met Gala, which was my first red carpet, which was absolutely insane. It was just walking with Pete Davidson for some reason and did all of these interviews and walked the carpet and had my photo taken by so many photographers for the first time, and people screaming my name, and even knowing my name was crazy, and then sitting with so many celebrities that I admire, actors and singers and activists that I adore. It was such a fun time. I can't believe still to this day that I even got to go. I don't know why I was so surprised about how human everybody really was at the end of the day. For the most part, everyone that I interacted with was just so real, and we had real conversations. I had such a nice conversation with Megan Thee Stallion and a very inspiring conversation with Lorde, and just to be able to talk to these people that I admire and these people that I usually only see on social media or on late night TV shows, and to see them in front of my face talking to me and being just the loveliest, most personable people was so inspiring, and just a reminder of why I love being a part of this community so much. And I'm really grateful to the Met Gala for allowing me to have that experience. So for the last step, it's my eyelashes. So I tend to go in with a curler, and then I follow it up with, this is my trusty NARS mascara that I actually used on set of West Side Story. So this is technically Maria's mascara. When I was on set of West Side Story, I had to do a lot of crying. If you don't know, Maria goes through a lot of stuff, and all of that stuff makes her cry. It's her natural human reaction, and it's also mine, so it was very easy to access that. But that also meant that we had to be very, very careful when it came to mascara, because you need mascara when you're working on a film. People need to know you have eyelashes because lights and cameras can tend to drive that out. And it's very important that we find a mascara that didn't run when I cried, because I cried a lot. We tried so many different mascaras on the first day, cried in all of them to see which worked the best. And this NARS mascara is for the scenes where I didn't cry. So, you know, the most iconic image as of right now is of me at dance at the gym, and I am wearing this NARS mascara. I also don't like to put too much on, because if it gets clumpy or starts to look spidery, then I haven't done my job correctly. The clips come off. We are ready to go. Thank you to all of you for coming along on this journey. Hope you learned something, not only just about how you look, but also how you feel, because that is all to do with beauty. Thank you so much, and see you soon.